Back is hoops. The Wizards are out on the West Coast. The Caps are out on the West Coast, making way for the Big Ten tournament. And Maryland will be the last team to appear late into the night on Friday night. Probably Northwestern, could be Ohio State, maybe Rutgers. Mike Ashley has been running around doing tournament ball. He was at the Big South tournament down in South Carolina over the weekend. I follow him out on Facebook as well, and you can follow his journey out at Terrapin Times as well. And we welcome him as a defending champion back onto the program to discuss all things Big Ten tournament. But, hey, this Big Ten tournament, how many teams in the Big Ten get in? A lot of it's about these other tournaments and the other at-larges, right? I mean, it's a very, very muddied picture as we head into tournament weekend.
Yeah. Well, the Big Ten's got 5 for sure, and there's, I think Illinois sort of played themselves out of contention, get some nice parting gifts and a home version of the game. But, Michigan State, they're the interesting one to me. Maryland really handed them a tough loss, and they've lost 3 of their last 5, but they've got a couple of, tough 3-point games in there, and they beat Wisconsin on the road. So what do you do with them, and what do you do with Michigan and Iowa? So the Big Ten tournament for those teams means an awful lot this weekend. For Maryland, I think a win, as many wins as they can garner, gets them a better seed in the tournament, because people, the knock on them all year is, you don't play a great schedule, but, now they'll be going up, have a chance to play against some good RPI teams here in the tournament and improve their lot in the coming week.
Yeah, I don't know what the expectations are for Maryland this weekend, quite frankly. I mean, I think for all the top 4 teams, Purdue and Minnesota will play the early games, Wisconsin and Maryland the late games. Whoever they're playing is a little bit in a desperation mode, right? I mean, Northwestern, Michigan State, these teams need to win some games to get in, and if you're a Michigan or an Iowa or Indiana or whatever, you got to win the banana. You got to get the Sunday at the very least to be considered, and, Maryland's going to have a tough game on Friday night, and it's always for me in these tournaments, who's motivated and who's not and why.
Oh, right, yeah. Northwestern's kind of everybody's darling right now. They lost a tough one last weekend, and they're already in though. So if it ends up Maryland and Northwestern, that's just that's going to be some icing on the cake for whichever team wins. But particularly for Maryland, though, be better to win that one and have another quality win on your resume, and hopefully get a little bit better seeding in the big tournament. And but it's going to be a fun week. It seems like this tournament's kind of sneaking up on people. I don't think a lot of people realize, all these teams are coming to town here. I think we still get so much ACC coverage in our region that it's kind of overshadowed what's going to be going on downtown here.
Well, and I've talked to a lot of people about this week, Mike, and the ACC departure. This is, I don't want to say when it becomes official. I mean, I don't want to be crass like that, but I think this is when it becomes fully clear what a big deal the Big Ten is, because this tournament's been held out in Indianapolis, out in Chicago for years and years. These teams get together. Maryland's a bit of the new kid on the block. It's going to be at Madison Square Garden next year, a week earlier, which is going to be kind of weird, but bringing these teams in, I don't miss the ACC at all. I think it's kind of cool that on Thursday you can saunter down to the Verizon Center and see the Michigans and the Illinois and the Iowas and the Michigans and the Michigan States all kind of get together. And more than that, I think with the local fans, I think with the cherry blossoms, I think with the novelty of all of it, I think a lot of these schools are going to quote-unquote travel well, because you know D.C. as well as I do. There are plenty of Purdue supporters in and around the D.C. area. Ditto Minnesota, Wisconsin, all of these places.
Oh, there are plenty of fans of all teams around here. It's always amazing. I really, it's funny, Nestor, you mentioned how I had gone south for the Big South tournament. I have a lot of ties in that league. I actually cover that league for Blue Ribbon, and a little bit of one-stop shopping. You'd be able to pop in there the first 2 days of the tournament and see just about everybody. But it's funny to me, and I'm from the South myself, and grew up an ACC guy. Boy, there are still hard feelings about Maryland as you get south in the heart of the ACC country. People down there just did not understand why Maryland would ever want to leave, their great league, and they really do get their hackles up a little bit about it. It's kind of funny when I was driving back this weekend, just hoping to get some scores. Even the ACC networks I was listening to, the games I was listening to, I could not get a Maryland score while I was on the road. So it really hit home to me. what people, and that speaks well for Maryland. That I think the people down there really do miss them in the league. They even more than the Big Ten folks understand Maryland's basketball tradition. So this week in D.C., a great chance for Maryland to put more of an imprint on, what they can do in the Big Ten. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And since the last time we talked, I think we're all feeling a lot better about Maryland's chances.
Well, you feel better when Melo hits that shot against Michigan State on Saturday, right? And, for Melo to have some sort of an awakening on the front end of this awakens all Terps fans to realize, they're not going to get very far without him. And a lot of this is about matchups, not only in this tournament this week, which is, quite frankly, irrelevant, but fun. The real games begin next Thursday and Friday, and the matchups and who they're going to match up against. But the one ace in the hole is a lot of the early games. Melo Trimble can be the best player on the floor at any given point. He certainly was on Saturday at various points.
Yeah, Nestor, you make a great point, but I think one of the things when we saw Maryland go into that little bit of a tailspin for a couple of weeks, though, it didn't over that point to you, it seemed like all the pressure was on Melo late in those games to make a play, and the thing that encouraged me from the past weekend was, 15 points from Justin Jackson, six rebounds. Cowan, I thought, had a great game. What I saw, he had 11 points and 5 assists, and I thought he sort of got his wah back when you think about teams that are successful in a tournament, there's great backcourts. So Anthony Cowan, who really hasn't done much of it until here late in the year, can't play like a freshman. He has to get that game-winning mentality back where he's kind of running the show and making things a little bit easier for Melo. And then Justin Jackson is just such a great piece, the way he creates matchup problems for the other teams. And now that he's got his shooting eye back, seems like, Maryland's in so much better position now to do some damage.
All right, so what do you expect from them? What Bemidji part of this wheel do you expect Maryland to go? And what would make you happy on Sunday when the seedings come out, Mike?
Well, I'd love to see Maryland reach the finals. I think that's doable. Now, if you'd asked me that a week ago, I would have laughed at you. But what I saw from the big win over Michigan State's a team that this year everybody kind of compares themselves to because they set the standard for toughness. And they came in and sort of, tried to make that game at Maryland such a physical contest, and the Terps held up, which has always been a question mark the last few years even with the good Maryland teams, the best Maryland teams. You can push them around and maybe they'll back down and maybe they can't play like that for 40 minutes. Well, these young guys were able to hang with Michigan State playing their game and got plays down the stretch and toughed it out. And so I really like that. As far as Maryland, I really do think there's a lot of emphasis on what's going to happen in other leagues. Everybody's talking about how the ACC, they've got 7 locks in and maybe might get more, maybe all-time record for them, 10 if things fall right. But so we'll have to see because all that will affect where Maryland will be. I would love to see Maryland move up into maybe, if they do well in this tournament, if things play right, maybe a 5 or a 4 seed would be a really good spot for this team. And again, the context of them starting 20-2 this year kind of ratcheted up the expectations on these guys, maybe in some ways unfairly, particularly when you think about some of the injuries they battled through, Tchaikovsky and Dion Wiley in particular. And if you'd have told any of us where they were going to be here at this point of the season, I think we all would have taken it in the preseason.
Well, the sites are Buffalo, Milwaukee, Orlando, Salt Lake City are the early games, and the Friday games are Greenville, South Carolina, Indianapolis, Tulsa, or Sacramento. So those are the potential sites there. Obviously, none of them a comfortable drive, but I think you'd rather be playing in Buffalo, or Orlando, or Greenville than, let's say, Oklahoma or Sacramento, at least in the early weekend. We always know there aren't enough teams to go around out west. Somebody's got to go out there. So maybe, I don't know, a 4 seed in Salt Lake City? I'd rather be a 6 seed in Buffalo, quite frankly.
Yeah, they were out in Buffalo several years ago, as I remember, played out there, and that was a really fun. I had a blast covering them up there, to be honest.
Well, they do have wings and open space.
Well, right, and they also have a trolley there in town. So you're staying on the main drag, you ride the trolley down the arena or any other local night spot. It was a lot of fun. I tell you, the thing I remember most is was it Butler they ended up losing to that year? A really tough team, but that was a game. VCU beat Duke on a last-second shot. So any Maryland fans in the building to see that too were all. It was like a double. It was like double joy because Maryland had won their first game and Duke lost.
We'll still be hating on Duke wherever they go. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that'll never die. And who knows, when these brackets come out, the bracketology folks like to put those sort of little twists in there at some point, right? And Duke will be a 2 or a 3 seed, right?
Right, and the funny thing, when you ran down those sites, and I'll be honest, I hadn't quite looked at those so intensely yet.
I hadn't either, but I mean, I know on Sunday it's going to be like, hey, the Terps are going to Milwaukee or Orlando or Greenville, and I'll be like, what,
Right, but what's missing, and again, for those of us in this region, is no North Carolina sites because of the controversy down there, which is really something because you always figured North Carolina or Duke is playing some games right there in Greensboro or Charlotte or Winston-Salem right off the bat to get off to a good start in the tournament. And then that's a good drive for Maryland fans who are used to that. Again, back to the history of their program, and none of that this year, though, boy, huh?
Politics have taken over, including in D.C., where the Big Ten tournament's going to be hosted all weekend long. 14 teams coming together. It kicks off on Wednesday night with the bottom from 14 to 10. Maryland will probably be playing Northwestern or Ohio State. The Ohio State-Rutgers game begins the whole thing. Mike Ashley covers all things Terps as well as college hoopology and bracketology out at Terrapin Times. You're going to be very, very busy this week as well. And last thing for you, Mike, has Melo earned a senior year? I mean, there was reports about an emotional thing with his mother down there on Saturday, and he might not have a senior day and whatnot. I can't fathom that he's going to play his way into a whole lot of money here over the next couple of weeks, especially given how the season's gone and that the university could really use him next year. Where do you put the sweepstakes on Melo Trimble coming back next year at this point?
Well, to steal Tony Kornheiser's line, it's 50-50. He either will or he won't. But no, I think that's maybe more true now. And watching the way Melo has risen to the criticism that was levied on him after last year, watching him bounce back and play with such pride, there's still questions though. His size and his lateral quickness defensively are things that don't translate well to the next level at his position. Now, he's got intangibles, but, being selfish, I think maybe he'd be great coming back another year and showing off those intangibles, further. So you'd love to see Melo stay and play and continue to add to his legacy here, which is still growing. I think a lot of people thought he'd maybe put a ceiling on it last year, but now it's obvious that Melo is going to go out on his own terms, and hopefully there's going to be a great run here this year, and maybe make him hungry for more.
Rest up. We got a lot of hoops here this week. We'll be watching and waiting on the brackets on Sunday. I'll see you down at the phone booth on Friday, Mike. Good looking out for you, man.
Sounds good, Nestor.
You got it. Mike Ashley, Terrapin Times, as well as you can follow his journey out there on the internet anywhere college basketball is sold, including his Blue Ribbon work, which he does a great, great job of covering college basketball. We love having him on. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper ships into your email inbox free of charge every morning. We had a little glitch last week. We got it fixed within 24 hours. Got the paper percolating last Friday as well. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And breaking news is going to be happening all week long. I guarantee you with the Ravens, the NFL free agency deadline coming up, you're going to be getting texts coming your way if you're on the service. If you're not, you're really missing out. It's the best thing we do around here. The WNST breaking news service, all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. It comes to you via text. You can sign up at WNST.net. If you have any questions, toss me an email, nasty@WNST.net. Our London trip is up and selling. We got over 100 people going with us. We're going to have 200 before it's all over with. If you want some space, toss us an email. Check out the Road Trips tab up on the website as well. Nasty@WNST.net is an open door to find me. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and of course, we're always streaming live on Facebook Live here on the internet, as well as on our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.